So I get asked all the time, what is the best platform for me to be able to invest in stocks? And I always give the exact same answer, M1 Finance. It may be complicated and it may take you a little bit of time to be able to get used to it, but the moment that you get used to how M1 Finance works, it's literally the best platform, especially if you're a long-term minded investor who doesn't want easy access to be buying and selling out of stocks, who doesn't want to be freaking out every time they're invested in the stock market. M1 Finance, I believe, is the best for every value investor out there because you're not going to be buying stocks that often. The only thing you got to think about is M1 Finance only allows you to trade 2 times a day, once in the morning at 9:30 and once in the afternoon around 3:30. So just keep that in mind, and you only get the second trading window when you have the M1 Plus account. So keep that in mind with M1 Finance. However, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up your M1 Finance account, and then you never have to look at it again because of the automatic investments feature that M1 Finance has. And I just think it's literally one of the best things that you can do for yourself, especially when you first get started and you're trying to figure yourself out. All right, let's get into it. What's going on, people? It's your boy Kelechi back with another video. If this is your first time around these parts, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy anything that we talk about on this video, hit that like button. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to be showing you how to set up your M1 Finance portfolio so that it can look a little bit like mine if you want it to be clean cut and look correct. If you want it to look like what I got going on here, where everything is in the right place and it's where exactly you want it to be. So in this, my passive income portfolio, you can see like I have a pie for technology, real estate, and financial services, utilities, and consumer products. It took me a little bit to learn how to use M1 Finance, but the moment I learned how to use it, I'm never going back because I just love the way that it does the pies. The pies are such a good way for you to start understanding portfolio allocation and for you to understand how to make sure that your portfolio isn't overweight. M1 has 2 features that I really love. One is the automatic invest feature. If you put a certain amount of money into the M1 Finance and you tell it like, oh, if I put $10 in here, go ahead and automatically invest that $10 into any of my underweight stocks, M1 Finance would do that for you. But let's say, for example, in one of your pies, let's say, for example, it just all of a sudden did unbelievably well and you're way overweight. For example, right now in my technology pie, I'm way overweight, 65%. Now I can hit this button and rebalance where M1 will automatically sell out of all the stocks that I'm doing really well in and buy into my underperforming stocks so everything can balance back out. I'm not going to do that because I've turned off most of the automatic features because with the volatility in the market, I want to kind of be a little bit more hands-on. But with M1 Finance, the beautiful thing is you don't have to be as hands-on when you're creating and setting off your portfolio. But anyway, let's get right into how to set up your portfolio. There's multiple ways that people like to set up your portfolio. Some people just set it up by basically they create a pie and they just add stocks. Like they just add all the stocks into one page. I don't like doing it that way because look at this. This is way cleaner. Like you actually can click into technology and you see all the stocks in here, like all that stuff. It looks way cleaner. If you go back to one of my first videos that I ever did on M1 Finance, I'm actually going to link it up here. You could have seen like I just had a bunch of stocks in here. It wasn't as clean as it looks right now. Now I'm adding emojis and all this fancy stuff to make it look a little nicer when I'm presenting it. But anyway, so the first thing you're going to do when you're trying to create a pie on M1 Finance is you're going to click on this research tab. Now, if you're new to investing and you don't know exactly what to do, M1 does provide you with some expert pies where you can select how you want to invest. For example, general investing, if you click that, it's going to give you options of how you want to invest it. So for example, if you're just getting started and you're like, yo, I don't really want to think about losing money, you can go ultra conservative. That probably has a very high weighting in bonds. Exactly. So it has a very high weighting in bonds. Or if you're like, yo, I'm young, I want all the smoke, you can go ultra aggressive. And M1 has really good ETFs. For the most part, it's Vanguard ETFs, which are some of the best ETFs that you can possibly have. And it does a great job of just distributing everything out properly and balancing it out. So if you don't want to do any of these things and pick your own single stocks, you can just literally use M1 Finance expert portfolios for yourself. However, if you want to create your own pies and you want to be a stock picker like Warren Buffett, let's go into the other thing you need to click on. So instead of clicking expert pies, what you can do is click on my pies. And then you can create a new pie. As you can see, I've done a bunch of different pies here. I've created a bunch of different pies. When I first started, I wanted all the companies. You're going to click on create new pie. And then the cool thing is, if you don't know what to call that pie, if you don't know what to call that portfolio, what you can do is Down here, M1 has sectors. It has different sectors that you can select from for you to get a better understanding of what it is that you're selecting. So let's say, for example, you wanted to create a new pie and you wanted to add companies within, let's just use healthcare, for example. You wanted to add companies like Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer. Johnson & Johnson, let's search Pfizer. Yeah, so Pfizer, so add to basket. Let's go back, and what's another one? We'll just go with these two for now. So you want Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. So you're like, okay, these are the companies that I want. You can click add, and then when you click add, it's going to take you to the next window where you get to edit. So you click on edit, and then now you can select the portfolio weighting. So you can say, you know what, I believe more in Johnson & Johnson, so I'm going to put Johnson & Johnson at like 75% of this portfolio. I'm going to have Johnson & Johnson be 75%. And then for Pfizer, I just think they'll be about 25% because I don't believe in them as much as I believe in Johnson & Johnson. And then you can name this portfolio and be like, healthcare or healthcare and vaccines, for example. So you name it what you want. To add an emoji, if you're using a Windows keyboard, you can just press the Windows key and period, and then you can search like healthcare. And, you know, have a picture of a doctor be on there or something like that. And now you have a emoji, and that's what it's called. Now you can add description. It's like vaccines and pharmaceuticals and medicine or something like that. You can call it that, and then you can click save up here. So M1 will automatically create that pie. And then if we go back to my pies that I've created, if we go back to my pie, it will put it up here. So now you have to add it to the portfolio. And so to add it to a portfolio, you will click on add to portfolio, and then it will ask you what portfolio you want to add it to. So when you first create an M1 account, it's going to ask you to create a portfolio. For example, in this case, I already have this portfolio, and that's my passive income portfolio. So if I wanted to add that new pie that I just created, let's go back to research, go back to my pies. If I wanted to add it to my portfolio, I would click on add to portfolio. It will ask me which one I want to do. I'm going to click on passive income, click add, and then it's going to say, okay, now you have to tell me the weighting that you want it to be. So for example, right now I have technology at 50%, consumer at 20%. So in this part, and then I would select like, okay, I want this to be like 2% of my entire portfolio. So now you see like how you can get more detailed, going deeper and deeper into it. Now it's different levels of balance in the portfolio. Initially, we had inside the portfolio, we had 75% going to Johnson & Johnson and 25% going to Pfizer. So then I would balance it out and say I want this to be just 48%. Now you have to remember it always has to add up to 100%. If it doesn't add up to 100%, it will freak out. So click save, click confirm. If I go back to my portfolio, now it added that last one, healthcare and vaccines, 2%. Now remember that 2% breaks down to be 75% Johnson & Johnson and 25% Pfizer, which I think is such a good way to do it. It's much better to like say, okay, healthcare makes up 2% of my total portfolio, where within that 2%, Johnson & Johnson is 75% of my portfolio. Now, of course, if you wanted to look at the actual holdings in your account to see what the holdings that each one has in the total portfolio, you can click on holdings, and then it will tell you which one is your largest holding, your largest position, and then it will break everything down from there. So if you want to use M1 Finance, I definitely would say to definitely use M1 Finance. I love M1 Finance. It's a great way for you to start investing. And the beautiful thing is once you have this set up, you can just click this auto invest feature, put the amount of money that you want to be investing all the time. And then once it has that amount of money, it will put that money where it needs to be. So for example, right now, we have technology that's 65%. It won't put any more money into technology. It will probably route that money into consumer products and into healthcare and vaccine. That's where I'll route most of the money because those ones are super underweight. So I'll route it into utilities, consumer products, and healthcare because all of those are super underweight. And that's why I really love it. That way your portfolio and your entire portfolio is not out of whack and it stays on to the allocation that you wanted it to be. But anyway, that's all I got. I hope this helps every single person that's trying to set up an M1 portfolio. It can be complicated, but I promise you, once you get it going, it's super, super duper ultra simple. All right, I'm gonna catch y'all up on the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace.